My name is Gayla Kraetsch, Hartsough, and I'm president of Kraetsch Consulting Group. My journey was a little bit different, where I really didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I went to Northwestern. I had 3 different majors. I was in 3 different schools. I was in art, I was in journalism, and I was in communications. And I graduated in 3 years with no idea of what I wanted to be. I got a job at Perkins School for the Blind, which was where Helen Keller and Ann Sullivan came from. So we had blind and deafblind students. They suggested I get a master's, which I got at Tufts, in learning disabilities. So I quickly became a resource teacher, a team leader at a training institute, and some faculty at the University of Virginia said you should come get your PhD in this field. So I did. I go off to the University of Virginia, I get my PhD, I pick up a second master's in research methodology and statistics. And I then decided, I was 28 and I'd done everything based on what other people sort of said you're good at and you should do, but I hadn't really thought about what I wanted to do. And I was then going through a divorce, and I decided not to go the traditional faculty route. Instead, I got a postdoc through the Woodrow Wilson National Fellowship Foundation and worked for a think tank in Washington, D.C. in higher education policy. So I worked in the nonprofit area for 2 years, went to a for-profit firm because I felt I needed to know the private sector. In 1986, I left and started my own firm, Kraetsch Consulting Group. We have served over 200 clients. We've worked in 9 foreign countries, 25 states, but 80% of our work is local government. We do a lot of work in the city and county of Los Angeles. We've done state projects, federal projects, and another big chunk of our work is higher education. What I'm going to do is describe a typical project, because that's how you think about it in consulting. The first third is really that whole fact-finding, collecting the documents, reviewing the documents, establishing interview schedules, focus groups, maybe town hall meetings, if there's a lot of stakeholder engagement and input. Survey design, again, sending that out. The second third is very heavily the analysis. And pre-Zoom, I would find I spent a lot of time on the client side in that first third. The second third, our team is more back and forth, validating, reaching agreement on these are the strengths we want to preserve. These are the opportunities for improvement. Here are options for consideration, just like you do when you study public policy. The last third actually ends up being a lot of report writing. And we find our reports are legacy of our work. So an example is we've done strategic plans for 30% of Los Angeles County departments. And those reports really form the foundation of sort of the roadmaps of what they need to do. I'm the kind of person that when I go to sleep, I actually think about my client issues and problems that I want to resolve. And I find by morning, I oftentimes come up with solutions. Pre-COVID, what was great is just the team of people I work with. I've had some of my consultants with me for over 20 years who are vice presidents of the firm, and they're bright. We've always been virtual. People could work from their home. I don't care what time of day. They do their analysis as long as they meet the deadlines with the clients. We would meet up sometimes at our offices, but oftentimes at the client sites. And always sort of looked forward to those kinds of challenges, what we're taking on in terms of the client issue, the different perspectives. We'll bring in subject matter experts. And so that intellectual stimulation is always very important. I will just mention that when I first started in this field, it was 95% male and 95% white male, mostly MBAs. I was unusual because I was a woman, I was a PhD, I was young. When I left the large firm, we did get certified as a woman-owned firm. We are very diverse in terms of gender, in terms of different ethnic and racial backgrounds, but we're also diverse in terms of subject matter experts we bring in. What's great about doing strategic planning and management audits in local government is you can sort of see the outcomes right away. We've worked on, as I said, projects. When you do strategic planning, you're really looking forward about how can you make government better. So for example, we did the first strategic plan for public health, and the vision was to make LA County the healthiest urban county in America. The neat thing about working in the public sector, particularly in your 20s and your 30s, is you're given a lot of responsibility at a young age to analyze issues and come up with options. I was amazed when I was 28, 29, 30. I would do studies for state legislators and come up with policy recommendations that changed decades. So an example was I worked on the analysis of open enrollment for higher education in the state of Mississippi back in the late 70s. And that opened up a higher education opportunity for thousands and thousands of children and students for the last 40 years. I mean, that's pretty exciting. There's always an argument about, do you make more money in the public sector versus the private sector? And I've always found you can make a very reasonable living. You get to do really interesting work, and you should pursue your heart. And if you enjoy bringing about social change in the public policy level, then working in the public sector is the place to be.